The situation surrounding Jonathan Kaminga continues to evolve in a way that few people could have predicted, and just when it seemed like the storyline had reached its limit, another major variable has entered the picture. The idea of Kaminga potentially being involved in a scenario that connects the Golden State Warriors and the Los Angeles Lakers immediately raises eyebrows, not only because of the rivalry between the two franchises, but because of how complex and layered the basketball implications really are. When teams with that kind of history and competitive tension start circling the same player, it usually signals that something significant could be brewing behind the scenes. From the Warriors' perspective, the Kaminga situation has quietly shifted from a long-term development project to a pressing short-term decision. There was a stretch early in the season when it genuinely felt like he was taking a real step forward, showing confidence, attacking the rim with authority, and impacting games in ways that went beyond raw athleticism. During that period, the rotation felt more balanced, the energy was there, and it looked like Golden State might finally be unlocking a more consistent version of his game. But as the weeks passed, that momentum faded, and the inconsistency returned at the worst possible time. The drop in his on-court impact has naturally affected how teams around the league view his value. Kaminga is still young, still explosive, and still capable of changing a game in short bursts. But the question has shifted from potential to reliability. Front offices are now asking whether his strengths can be maximized in the right environment or whether the gaps in his game limit his fit on teams with immediate championship aspirations. That uncertainty is exactly what makes his name such a frequent part of trade discussions right now. When the Lakers come into the conversation, things get even more interesting. Their roster needs are clear, especially when it comes to size on the wing and defensive versatility. They have been looking for players who can guard multiple positions while still contributing offensively without needing the ball constantly. Kaminga does not perfectly fit the traditional label of a 3-and-defense wing, but he does bring athletic slashing, transition pressure, and the ability to finish strong at the rim. Those traits can matter just as much in a system built around star players who draw defensive attention. At the same time, his shooting has quietly shown signs of improvement. The volume has not been overwhelming, but the mechanics look smoother and the confidence is noticeably higher than in previous stretches of his career. Defensively, while he is not a finished product, there has been a visible increase in effort, particularly on the glass and in help situations. These are the kinds of details that teams pay close attention to when deciding whether a player is worth the risk, especially in a high-stakes environment like the Western Conference playoff race. For Golden State, the calculus is different. The Warriors are no longer in a position where they can simply wait and hope everything clicks eventually. Every roster spot matters, every contract matters, and every decision is weighed against the remaining prime years of their core players. Kaminga's contract, once seen as a manageable investment in upside, now feels heavier when his production does not consistently match his role. That does not mean he lacks value, but it does mean the front office has to consider alternative paths that could provide more immediate stability. This is where the idea of a direct exchange with Los Angeles starts to gain traction. A deal that brings back players who can contribute right away, even if their ceiling is lower, might appeal to a Warriors team that values fit, spacing, and decision-making within their system. Players who can knock down open shots, understand defensive rotations, and stay disciplined without the ball have historically thrived in Golden State's environment. The appeal is not about star power, but about reliability over the course of a long season. There is also the broader context of how Kaminga's role might change in a different setting. In Los Angeles, he would not be asked to be a primary creator. Instead, his job would likely focus on cutting, defending, running the floor, and capitalizing on the attention drawn by established stars. For some players, that clarity can unlock a more efficient version of their game. For others, it exposes limitations. That uncertainty is exactly why his name continues to generate so much discussion. Another layer to this story is how other teams are positioning themselves. Some franchises that were once loosely connected to Kaminga appear less motivated now, either because their recent performance is stabilized or because their developmental priorities lie elsewhere. That narrows the field and increases the likelihood that a team like the Lakers, who are actively searching for specific roster upgrades, stays involved in monitoring his situation closely. What makes this all so compelling is that Kaminga remains a player who can swing outcomes depending on context. On nights when he is locked in, his athleticism jumps off the screen, and it is easy to understand why he was viewed as a cornerstone piece just a short time ago. On other nights, the lack of polish, the missed reads, and the inconsistent shooting make it harder to justify extended minutes on a team with championship expectations. That contrast defines where his career stands right now. As the trade landscape continues to shift, the Warriors are weighing whether holding onto that volatility is worth it, or whether reallocating his value into pieces that better match their immediate goals makes more sense. Meanwhile, teams like the Lakers are doing their own evaluation, asking whether they could be the environment that smooths out those rough edges and turns flashes into something more dependable. This is not just about one player changing teams, but about how timing, fit, and organizational philosophy intersect in a league where windows to compete can close quickly. All of this sets the stage for a fascinating stretch ahead, where rumors turn into negotiations and theoretical fits are tested against real front office decisions. The Jonathan Kaminga situation is no longer just about development or patience, but about direction, urgency, and how teams choose to balance the future against the present as the season continues to unfold. As the situation continues to gain momentum, the conversation naturally shifts toward what a realistic next step could look like for all parties involved. Jonathan Kaminga's name, circulating this frequently, is not accidental, and it reflects a growing sense that his timeline may no longer align perfectly with Golden State's immediate priorities. The Warriors are operating in a space where patience has limits, and while development is still valued, the margin for extended experimentation has become thinner with each passing game. One of the most telling elements in all of this is how Kaminga's on-court role has fluctuated. There were moments when he looked empowered, trusted to attack mismatches, and encouraged to play through mistakes. Then came stretches where his minutes were shorter, his leash tighter, and his impact more sporadic. For a young player, that kind of inconsistency can affect rhythm and confidence, and it often feeds into the perception that a change of scenery might be beneficial not only for the team, but for the player himself. From a purely basketball standpoint, there is no denying that Kaminga still possesses tools that are difficult to find. His combination of size, speed, and vertical explosiveness allows him to pressure defenses in ways that few wings can. When he attacks the basket decisively, defenders are forced to collapse, opening space for shooters and creating secondary opportunities. That aspect of his game remains valuable, even if it has not been fully optimized within Golden State's current structure. The challenge has always been how those strengths fit within a system that emphasizes ball movement, spacing, and rapid decision-making. The Warriors thrive when players make quick reads, cut instinctively, and keep the offense flowing without hesitation. Kaminga's game, at least so far, leans more toward individual advantage creation, which can occasionally disrupt that rhythm. This does not make him ineffective, but it does complicate his role on a team with such a defined identity. Looking at the Lakers' side of the equation adds another layer of intrigue. Their roster construction places a premium on players who can complement star talent without demanding touches. Defense, rebounding, and physicality on the wing are constant needs, especially in playoff environments where matchups are relentlessly targeted. Kaminga's physical profile checks several of those boxes, and the idea of channeling his energy into a more focused role is appealing from their perspective. There is also the reality that Los Angeles has shown a willingness to take calculated risks on players whose value is in flux. Betting on upside, especially when the cost is manageable, has been part of their strategy in the past. Kaminga fits that mold as a player whose ceiling still intrigues teams, even if his floor remains a point of debate. The question becomes whether that gamble aligns with their timeline and expectations. For Golden State, potential return packages matter just as much as the decision to move on. The front office is not simply looking to shed a contract or resolve a rotation issue. They are seeking pieces that can immediately contribute within their system and help stabilize lineups that have struggled with consistency. Players who understand their role, space the floor effectively, and compete defensively are often prioritized over raw athleticism alone. This is why discussions around interchangeable forwards, shooting wings, and secondary contributors continue to surface. The Warriors have long valued versatility, but in a very specific way. They want players who can toggle between roles without compromising the overall flow of the game. In that context, swapping a high-variance asset for multiple lower-variance contributors can be an attractive proposition, even if it means moving on from a player once viewed as a future cornerstone. The emotional side of these decisions should not be overlooked either. Kaminga was drafted with the expectation that he would grow alongside the next phase of Warriors basketball. Letting go of that vision is not easy, and it speaks to how competitive pressures can reshape long-term plans. When wins become harder to secure and the margin for error narrows, sentiment often gives way to pragmatism. There's also a broader league-wide dynamic at play. As the trade window approaches, teams reassess their direction with increasing urgency. Some franchises lean fully into contention, others pivot toward development, and a few attempt to balance both paths simultaneously. Kaminga's situation sits right at the intersection of those philosophies, making him one of the more fascinating names to monitor as decisions accelerate. What complicates matters further is that his statistical profile tells a mixed story. Efficiency metrics show promise in certain areas, particularly around the basket and on the defensive glass. At the same time, usage fluctuations and limited volume in some shooting categories make evaluation less straightforward. Teams have to decide which trends are meaningful indicators of growth and which are products of circumstance. The defensive side of his game is another point of ongoing discussion. While he has the physical tools to be impactful, consistency remains the key issue. There are possessions where he stays disciplined, cuts off driving lanes, and uses his length effectively. Then there are moments where focus lapses or positioning breaks down. For teams with strong defensive infrastructure, this can be seen as teachable rather than prohibitive, but it still factors into overall risk assessment. As these conversations continue internally, the sense of inevitability grows. Whether a deal materializes or not, the fact that Kaminga's name remains active signals that Golden State is at least open to reshaping this part of its roster. That openness alone can change how players are perceived and how negotiations unfold behind closed doors. For the Lakers, monitoring this situation closely makes strategic sense. They are constantly evaluating ways to optimize their supporting cast without sacrificing flexibility. Adding a player like Kaminga could represent a swing on upside, especially if they believe their environment can simplify his responsibilities and accentuate what he does best. At the same time, there is no guarantee that such a move would produce immediate results. Development does not always follow a straight line, and the pressure of a high-profile market can amplify both success and failure. Any team considering this move has to be comfortable with that reality and prepare to manage expectations accordingly. As the season progresses and the stakes rise, clarity will eventually replace speculation. Decisions will be made, directions will be chosen, and the Jonathan Kaminga storyline will take its next definitive turn. Until then, the constant evaluation, the shifting narratives, and the strategic calculations continue to define one of the most intriguing situations unfolding in the league right now, with every game adding another layer to a story that remains far from resolved. Before we continue, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Dubs updates. Let's keep going. In what could be one of the most shocking moves of the season, whispers around the league suggest that the Golden State Warriors might have finally secured Anthony Davis in a deal that has insiders buzzing. Sources close to the situation claim that the Warriors' front office, spearheaded by the ever-strategic Stephen Curry's influence in team discussions, have won the battle to bring the star big man to the Bay Area. While nothing has been officially confirmed, multiple league insiders are hinting that the final package, reportedly involving a mix of young talent, draft picks, and salary cap maneuvering, has already been accepted in principle. The speculation alone has sent ripples through the NBA community. Curry, known for his unparalleled impact on and off the court, seems to have played a key role in persuading Davis that Golden State could be the perfect fit for his next chapter. Sources indicate that discussions were intense, with other teams reportedly trying to make a late push to sway Davis. But the Warriors' combination of championship pedigree and roster vision may have been irresistible. Fans and analysts are already dissecting what this could mean for the league's balance of power. Pairing Curry's shooting brilliance with Davis's defensive prowess and inside presence could create one of the most formidable duos in modern basketball history. Conversations about potential lineups, spacing, and offensive schemes are dominating social media, with speculation reaching fever pitch as the Warriors' front office is rumored to have moved quickly to finalize terms before other contenders could react. While the deal's full details remain under wraps, insiders suggest it is as close to done as possible without an official announcement. The rumor mill continues to spin, with some suggesting that Davis's camp has been impressed by the Warriors' commitment to building around him, including potential roster adjustments that would maximize his impact. If this move is confirmed, Golden State could be sending a clear signal that they are ready to compete at the highest level, potentially reshaping championship conversations for years to come. For now, fans are left in suspense, debating the ramifications and imagining what a Curry-Davis partnership might look like on the court. One thing seems certain. If these rumors hold any weight, the Warriors could be on the verge of a seismic shift that changes the narrative of the entire NBA landscape. Stay updated exclusively with the latest Dub Nation news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep getting daily updates on the Warriors. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Your input is essential for the Dubs community. Stay tuned for the next video.